All right, guys, y'all ready for me?
Yep.
Welcome.
Are you ready for us?
I don't know. There's a lot of you. Yeah, right. Okay, so everyone say toxins. Toxins. So I'm Dr. Nick Wilson, for those of you I haven't had the chance to meet yet. We're talking toxicity tonight, and we're talking a lot about it. And so tonight we're going to learn a couple things. We're going to learn about what it is, how to get rid of it, how to detox if you know you're toxic. So here's the thing. Tonight you're going to leave with garbage. Everyone say garbage.
Garbage.
Yeah, so you're going to leave with a garbage bag to take home and get rid of some of this junk in your life. And so, yeah, so what's going to happen tonight? I want to walk you through it. We're going to talk toxicity, what it is, but ultimately I don't want this to be just more information for you. How many of you know that information doesn't change lives? You got to do, what do you have to do with it? You have to implement it. You have to use it. You have to take action. So tonight's all about taking action with our health to really change. Because if you look at this, right now, if I asked you, how do you feel most days? How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Do you feel like this guy, energized, full of life, zeal for the day, ready to tackle the day? Or do you feel more like this guy? No explanation needed, right? And so the question is I don't want you to base your health off how you feel. How many of you know that you could feel great and develop heart disease and cancer, right? So you can't base your health off how you feel. However, isn't there more to life than waking up in the morning and just going through our routine, right? And so if you're dealing with chronic inflammation, if you're dealing with, you're on blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications, you're on thyroid medications, you have digestive issues, you have chronic fatigue, like there's a different way of living. And tonight's all about giving you action steps to live differently, yes? Because right now, if I asked you, how many of you want over the next 30 days, let's say, how many of you would like to lose 5 to 10 pounds? Raise your hand if you'd like to lose 5 to 10 pounds. How many of you, and keep your hands raised, how many of you would like to, if you have chronic illness, how many of you would like to reverse chronic illness? How many of you like to feel great when you wake up in the morning? How many of you would like to have more energy? Keep your hands raised. Did I get everybody yet? Almost. Okay, some of you just are doing awesome, apparently. You're here for support. So, yeah, so it starts with a decision. Right? You have to make a decision to be well, right? And I'm looking around at some of the group, and I'm seeing people who have made decisions to be well. I'm seeing people who have gotten off of 8 of 9 different medications. I'm seeing people who feel great. Helen, I want you just to share with them just for a second. Since you've lived maximized living, I'm putting you totally on the spot. I didn't prep her for this. I did not plant her, just to be clear. I just want you to tell us, what have you noticed differently about your life since you've really started to implement living this life, maximized living?
Walk my kids.
You out shop. You heard what she said.
Yeah, I didn't go shopping. I would shop. They shopped for me. But I can shop. I can walk. I don't get dizzy. I had dizziness. I feel younger.
Let me ask you this. When are you going to stop living maximized living?
Oh, I'm never going to stop living.
Okay, so how about Karen? So I'll just quickly tell her story. Off of 8 of 9 different medications now, reverse chronic disease. The doctors thought she had rheumatoid arthritis, that she was on all kinds of different medications, and now she's lost, say the number, I'm always behind. Now 40 pounds, dress size went from a 14 down to a 4, right? So she's living this life. How long are you going to be living maximized living? Yeah, right? So here's the plan. The goal is not just to be healthy for the next season, right? The goal is not to just like cleanse and how many of you have been to like health workshops, or you've even gone and you've seen these books that's like 21-day detox. And at the end of the 21 days, what does everyone want to do? Party, right? This is not that, right? My goal is not to just give you some, some tools so you get healthy for 21 days and then go party, right? And celebrate, because the goal is to be healthy and then remain healthy for how long? The rest of your life, right? I have no interest in just having people be healthy and implement this and go right back to the same lifestyle they started with, yes? And so it starts with making a decision. I have a very good example of making a decision in life change. And there's a story. 3rd century BC, the Chinese government, 3rd century BC, is being ruled by a group of, basically a Chinese dictatorship that was killing people. And there's a group of men. There's a general named General Jin Yu, and he got really sick and tired of the fact that the Chinese government was taking the Chinese government in a place that it didn't belong, right? And so he got these group of renegades and got them together, and he said, let's overthrow the government. Where is this going? You're wondering. I'm not going to have you overthrow the government. What happened, though, is he got these group of renegades together, and they went down the Yangtze River, and they got on the shores, and they're sneaking up on the Chinese government. And what they did is they slept on the shores, the banks, that night. And what ended up happening is, as all the troops were sleeping that night, General Jin Yu had all the ships burnt down to the ground. And so they wake up the next morning, and they said, like, what's going on? Where are the ships? What are we going to do? And he said, by burning the ships down, you've got one choice, or two choices. You can either fight and you can win, or you can die. But there's no option of retreat, right? And so because he eliminated the options of retreat, they had one option, and what do you think happened? They won, right? So we have to eliminate the possibilities of ever going back. That's why we have the garbage bags. That's why I'm going to have you make a decision tonight and draw a line in the sand and cross it, because many times we have all this fear and anxiety, and we have all this stress when it comes to change, and we have all these, I would say, excuses as it gets harder. And as it gets harder and harder, sometimes we look at the big picture of things and we say, you know, I just wanted to lose a few pounds, or I just wanted to feel a little bit better, or I just have diabetes. I don't know if I can really do this. And it gets hard, and we bail and we retreat. But tonight's about making a decision, draw a line in the sand, burn the ships down so there's no opportunity of ever retreating. Are you with me? Right? So make a decision tonight. Let's start with the decision. It all starts with your mind. If you make the decision right now to change, the rest of history and generations from now can change because you made the decision tonight to be different. Yeah? All right, let's do it. So there's two ways that chronic disease develops. It's toxic accumulation and then deficiency. And tonight's talk's all about these two leading to chronic disease. And right now, we are toxic in this country. Right now, we're so toxic. The average person consumes 3,000 different food additives and colorings every single year. Right now, 4 billion prescription drugs are ingested in the United States every year. 70,000 chemicals are used commercially. It's getting worse. There's 10,000 different chemicals are used in food processing and preservatives. And right now, the United States, we control 90% of the genetic modification of food. What does that mean? Is that if there's genetic modification of food, it's happening where? Here. And we're the sickest country on the face of the planet. We're the sickest. We have the best of everything. We have the best doctors. We take the most medications. We have the biggest hospitals. Yet we here are the sickest in the industrialized world. It's because we're making ourselves sick. Who's been to another country before? Raise your hand if you've traveled abroad. So you've been to another country. Do the people look like they look here? Do they look like that elsewhere? So everyone say no. Are we smaller or bigger than those people? We're bigger, right? And we're more sick. We have more chronic illness. Do you realize that they don't know the terms, the autoimmune diseases that we have here? They don't know the terms fibromyalgia like we have here. They don't have the cancer rates that we have here. They don't have the heart disease rates that we have here. They don't have autism the way we have it here. It's this country, and this country alone, that's the sickest in the industrialized world. So we have to realize that the way we're going is what? Right or wrong? It's the wrong direction. We've got to realize that what we're doing is wrong. We have to make a decision to stop and live differently. And people say, well, you know, you live maximized living, you're so weird. Yes, I'll be weird if being different in this country means no chronic illness, no autoimmune disorders, no thyroid medication, no cholesterol medication. Are you with me with that? So you might be different, and that's okay, because different here is okay. Normal here stinks. So we need to be different, and that's okay. And toxicity, it affects us all. This is the one thing that you can't get rid of all toxins, right? You can't get rid of it all. Why? Because it's in the foods that we eat, it's in drugs that we take, it's in household cleaners that we clean, the stuff that we put on our skin, our makeups, our cosmetics, our deodorants, our toothpaste. So you go down this list, it's in every single thing that you're being exposed to, and it's getting worse. We're genetically modifying more and more things in this country. We're sticking ourselves with more and more needles, so we've got to live differently. And toxicity looks different in every single person. Toxicity looks the same in me as it does in you, as it does in every single person in here. And the problem is that you can't look at somebody and say they're toxic, right? You can't judge yourself and say, well, I believe I'm toxic based off of symptoms. Thank God for symptoms and chronic fatigue and autoimmune disorders and cancer and heart disease and all these things. You know, there's a clear indicator in link to toxicity. However, you can be toxic and never know it. Right? How many people right now, they feel good, they look good, and they're severely toxic, right? And they feel great, right? Because toxicity doesn't always rear its ugly head. right? And how many of you know that, it's like the noisy neighbor? You've heard me use this analogy before. Eventually, what do you do to the noisy neighbor? You eventually do what? You eventually tune it out, right? And just because your body tuned it out, or you took something, a medication to tune it out, did that mean you're healthy, right? It didn't mean you're healthy. So the key is to understand toxicity and eliminate it, avoid it, and then detox. Because we all have 100 trillion cells inside of our bodies. And if all 100 trillion cells are healthy, what are you? Healthy. This can be real. We need to work out. We need to get you guys alive after you guys all worked today, didn't you? Yeah. Okay. We're going to do exercise in a second. All right. If all 100 trillion cells in your body are healthy, what are you? Healthy. Thank you. You're healthy. So what do we have to look at? We have to look at what causes a healthy cell to become unhealthy. And that's what the basis of this talk is going to be on. What causes a healthy cell to become unhealthy? And here's the thing, is that each one of our cells have a big fat layer all around it. So picture a big bubble around me right now. That's a fat layer around me. And that fat layer needs to be able to transfer nutrients in and out very, very easily, right? I need to be able to access you very easily so our cells can communicate and we can detox. The problem is that layer, that bubble, that fat cell becomes extremely unhealthy and very toxic easily from bioaccumulation, accumulation of toxins, from unhealthy fat, from the wrong ratio of good fats to bad fats, from the things we're exposed to on a daily basis. What happens is that cell becomes hardened and it becomes rigid and you can't transfer information in and out. And if the cell is not communicating to other cells, what is that called? It's a rogue cell. When it's a rogue cell, it's not communicating to other cells. That's cancer. Are you with me with that? You've heard of cancer doing its own thing? That's how it gets started, is because of this process right here. And we look at cancer, we say, well, I'm sorry, you just caught cancer, you got cancer. That's not how it works. You develop it with time, right? But the problem is the most sensitive medical test on the face of the planet catches it when it's 800 billion cells strong. And now you catch it on a mammogram. Now you catch it on a colonoscopy. Now you catch it on one of those tests. But what did you have developing the whole time? Cancer. So you didn't just catch cancer. It developed over time. So we have to know how to transfer, how to get that cell membrane, that fat cell, permeable, which means transfer in and out. So there's 5 things that you've got to know about. How many things? 5 things. Thank you. You're with me. We don't have to work out. So medications, household products, Teflon cookware, artificial food, and heavy metals. We're going to go through these in depth. And tonight's all about getting you some action steps and some really things you can take home with you and look through. Again, you're taking a garbage bag home with you. How many of you got the garbage bag? I see it in purses and stuff. Yes? Okay. So the goal would be to go fill this baby up, right? You say, well, I don't want to just like waste. No. You're not wasting. Trust me. You're not wasting by getting rid of this stuff. You're saving, okay? You're saving your life by getting rid of this stuff. So medications, right now in this country, we're 5% of the world's population. We take 80% of the world's drugs in this country. 80% of the world's drugs. I used to have to go through the top medications. I used to have to go through like Vioxx and Avandia, some of these blockbuster drugs that they pulled off the market, right? I used to have to go through these things. Like I used to have to talk about how they used to build Vioxx alone, this one drug. Do you know that Vioxx killed so many people that if you built a memorial to Vioxx alone, just one drug is an arthritis drug, that it'd be bigger than the Vietnam Memorial? One drug. It was an arthritis medication, guys. What happened is it started causing so many people's hearts to fail on them. And what they saw happening is that they saw the bodies piling up. They saw how many people were getting heart disease and having heart attacks. And guess what they did, the pharmaceutical companies did? Nothing. They did nothing about it. They waited for an extra 3 months before they even alerted anyone about it. Do you think the pharmaceutical companies have your best interest in mind when they develop these drugs? Come on. I used to have to prove this to people. I used to have to go through baby aspirin, and you know how they used to say take a baby aspirin a day to prevent what? Heart attacks, right? Heart attacks and stroke is why they told you to do that. Do you realize that it kills 2 teaspoons of blood inside the body every single time that you take that? And for ladies, increases your chance of breast cancer over 80%. The FDA just reversed their opinion on the whole baby aspirin thing. They said no longer should healthy people be taking a baby aspirin a day. It's killing too many people, and it's contributing to heart disease, heart attacks, and stroke. The very thing that you prescribed that for and told to take it for is what it's causing. Come on, 118 million people right now are taking an antidepressant. And that's going up, right? They're now having kids. They lobbied, the pharmaceutical industry lobbied to have, this was in Michigan and states all around, they lobbied to have the teachers, so of school children, they lobbied to have them be able to have direct access and prescribing rights to the kids and their parents for ADHD, which means attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and ADD. And so what they wanted to do is bypass the whole going to see your physician about your antidepressant or your ADHD, and they wanted the teachers to have full access because they know the kids better than the doctors do anyway. That's the pharmaceutical companies. If they have your best interest in mind, what would they lobby for? Organic healthy food. They lobby for, I don't know, clean water and what else? Supplementation and some of these things that we know would cause you to be healthy, but whose best interest do they have in mind? Their own, right? And so by trusting the information from a pharmaceutical company, you're going right into the lion's den of sickness, disease, and ultimately an early death. The goal is to get off of this stuff, right? If you're on it, the goal is to have a plan to get off of it. So there's a robber in our homes, and it robs us of health and contributes to health problems and disease, and it's called DEA. How many of you have heard of this one before? DEA. And that's the problem. Most of us have not. It's because we can't pronounce the word. I asked Dr. Scott before I come out here, I said, how would you say that? It's been a long time since chemistry. Diethylamine. That's as close as I got. So DEA, right? It's found in 600 different personal care products. It's found in soaps. It's found in lotions. It's found in bubble baths. It's found in a lot of your cosmetics. I've got a couple examples out here that Leah's going to help me with here in a second. But they knew that DEA caused cancer in animal studies. Guess what they did with it? You think they left it in or took it out? Left it in. Guess how many warnings are on products with DEA? Zero, right? Guess what they say? That it doesn't matter, it's just going on your skin. How many of you know if what goes on your skin gets in your body? Yeah. Right? And people used to argue with me about this. They don't anymore, but they used to say, how is that possible? Well, yeah, exactly. It's not. It's an organ system, your skin is. What goes on your skin gets in your blood. You think of progesterone creams. Think of nicotine patches. How do those things work? What goes on your skin gets in your body and affects your health. So you have to know what you're being exposed to. And that includes guys. So I talked through this, and guys tune out on this one. But how many of you know that, guys, we have the same problems, right? The same problems. And you think that foaming stuff that we put on our face and rub on our face called shaving cream, and it causes that, that blue foam or whatever? Come on. Those are coloring agents. There's a problem with those things. And you need to know what's in your shave gel. Propylene glycol. How many of you brush your teeth with antifreeze in the morning time? Raise your hand. Right? Well, you are if this is in your toothpaste, right? Propylene glycol. It's in hydraulic fluids. It's also found in childhood vaccinations. And they know it's linked to kidney damage, liver abnormalities, skin growth on the cells, damaged cell membranes, immune system problems, and ultimately cancer. That's one of the ingredients in our childhood vaccines. It's also in our toothpaste, shampoos. You have to be looking out for propylene glycol. That is a known cancer causer, autoimmune disruptor, hormone disruptor. SLS, you're going to see this one more and more now that I pointed it out. Sodium lauryl sulfate. It has to say sodium lauryl sulfate for it to be a problem. You'll see sodium sulfate in some of the products that we recommend tonight. It's not the same thing. Sodium lauryl sulfate is a known degreaser. It's found everywhere. You're going to see this in even Tom's toothpaste. I have it up here somewhere. You'll see it in Tom's toothpaste, which Tom's used to be a good brand, but guess who it was bought out by? Who knows? No, not drug company. We're harping on drug companies. Yeah. What did you say? Procter & Gamble. I thought it was Colgate. I might be wrong, but I think it's Colgate. I'm pretty sure Colgate brought out Tom's, and now you see SLS appearing in some of their products. Terrible. Yes, it's cheaper to use that, and it's better as a degreaser. Terrible for health, right? Terrible for health. So here's a good resource that I want you to use. It's called healthychild.org. You're going to write this one down. Healthychild.org. You're going to click on the link that says Live Healthy. Healthychild.org. Click on the link that says Live Healthy, and then there's Shop for Household and Cleaning Products. I can post this on our website. How many of you are on our Facebook page? You've clicked like on the Facebook page so you see our stuff. Okay, how many of you? Raise your hand. Not a lot. So make sure when you leave tonight, click on that because we post stuff like this after workshops to give you resources. How many of you are on Facebook? Raise your hand. Some more hands raised than who like. Okay, go home and like this, or get out your phone and do it today. But this is where we'll post this, on our website. EWG.org is the other one. And when you go to EWG.org, you're going to click on Consumer Guides. This is a great one. And you can go through EWG Skin Deep, which that's going to show you cosmetics. You can literally type in there the product that you're thinking about, and it can tell you, and it rates it from A to F on the number of carcinogens, which means known things that cause cancer inside of that product. So you can look up virtually any product on EWG's website. Skin products, you can look up food products, you can look up laundry detergents, you can look up your toothpastes. This is my favorite one, is EWG.org. Again, click on Consumer Guides. Yes?
What was it for the healthy?
healthychild.org/live-healthy. Yeah. So Leah, did you want to come out here now and do your part, or did you want to? Okay. So Leah's going to make this more practical for you. She's the she's more of the like how-to person.
Yeah. This will give you an idea of how to start brainstorming. So if I were you, I would write a list as we go through these examples of things that you want to replace in your house. And you might think of other things that aren't even on here, but this will just give you some ideas. We'll start with the cosmetics. He mentioned EWG Skin Deep. They actually rate on a scale of 1 to 10 in toxicity, and they have a very complex formula, and they also tell on the website if it's an endocrine disruptor, if it leads to kidney failure, if it's carcinogenic, a number of different things that they rate this based upon. And on the app, it only gives 3 of those ratings, but the app is still super useful. If you search on your app store and go to EWG Healthy Living, I think it is, you can scan when you're in the store. You can use the barcode scanner and it'll tell you how it's rated. Okay, so unlike nutrition, you've all heard Dr. Wilson say that if you can't read the ingredient on the nutrition label, then don't put it in your body. That's not the same here, because you see emulsifiers that are not harmful, things of that nature. So it's better to have a tool like EWG or like the My Essence handout that y'all received. If it helps you to read through those terms and understand why they're harmful, then you can be on the lookout for those terms when you're looking at the labels on your products. I personally like to put it into EWG and make a decision right then if I trust it or not, because it'll tell me the rating if it's a good product, and if it's not, it'll give me alternatives. You can link to alternatives, okay? So, first of all, who uses CoverGirl makeup or knows someone that does? This is a 6
They're
on
not
the
going to raise their hands.
Right, don't raise your hand, don't raise your hand. This is a 6 on the toxicity level because of parabens, which is a super common ingredient in women's cosmetics. Parabens are no good in your body, and a formaldehyde releaser.
Ooh.
So,
who knows what formaldehyde is? Embalming fluid.
So think about your makeup. Ladies, take a look at your makeup, take a look at what's in it. Purell, everyone has their kids use this every time they're in public. Quit slathering this on your children. Get an alternative if you want a disinfectant, such as thieves oil, a citrus oil. There are other things. There are even baby Ganix, and there are other brands of disinfectants. Quit slathering this on your kids. It is a 5 on the toxicity level. Propylene glycol. It has colors in it, fragrances that are unidentifiable, things of that nature that permeate your skin.
Every doctor's office.
What did you say?
It's found in every doctor's office.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is we make germs such the enemy, right? And then we think that germs cause disease. That's not the case. It's an unhealthy body first that causes it. Like if we inoculate this entire room with a germ, with a disease, some of us would get it and some of us wouldn't. Why? Is it the germ or is it the host? It's the person, right? And so you don't have to fear disease. Build your immune system. Build your immune system. You don't have to fear that stuff. In fact, we're creating more and more problems by all these antibacterial soaps and all these antibiotics, and get rid of that stuff. If you put antibacterial creams or soaps on your skin, stop doing that. It will cause health problems.
And it breaks down your skin and increases aging, so you don't want to do that either. The propylene glycol is also in this, your men's antiperspirant, and people who work with propylene glycol in labs and whatnot have to wear heavy-duty gloves because it permeates your skin so fast. So, but they put it in your products. Petroleum, look for the petroleums, the bad petroleums, the fragrance, the colors, and ultimately the aluminum. When you're using antiperspirants that have aluminum in them, you're putting them in pores that often open up for your body to sweat, and those pores are right next to lymph nodes. So quit putting those toxins in really vital spots. I'm not going to, Tom's is actually, it's rated #1 and has no aluminum. I'm not going to tell you which deodorant to use. It's very personal preference, and it takes a long time to find one, but it's worth it. I would suggest finding one that works for you. So you can start with Tom's, you can start with Kiss My Face, you can make your own. That usually works pretty well.
That was a nice way of saying you may stink for a little while.
But it's worth it. This swab for women also has aluminum in it. Most deodorants do. Be very careful with that. This Colgate has SLS. It causes the foaming. Most anything that foams has the SLS in it. And so you look at Tom's and you see it's fluoride free, so you think, oh, this must be a health conscious brand. But this also has SLS in it. So go for a Jason or something that's made by an essential oil company, something of that effect.
How do you spell Jason?
Just like Jason with 2 dots above the O. Yeah.
Skintimate, this is a 6 on the toxicity level, the PEGs. This also breaks down your skin, increases aging, absorbs into your skin very quickly, and potentially carcinogenic. Same with the Guys Shave Gel. Take a look at that. Another thing that we are very proud of putting on our children is sprayable sunscreen or other sunscreens. This has oxybenzone in it, or oxbenzone, however you say that, and it permeates your skin in significant amounts, and it's an endocrine disruptor and leads to cellular level toxicity. So it's worth it to identify a sunscreen that's safe for your children, that's safe for you. Something that's mineral-based, Badger, Ava Anderson, things like that. Johnson & Johnson, a brand I don't trust. You can see on EWG that they might tell you whether this brand has toxicity levels of like 1 to 6 or 1 to 7 or 1 to 3. If there's a brand that's between the 1 to 3 in toxicity levels, I generally trust that brand. Johnson & Johnson does have some stuff that's not super toxic, but they have a lot that is, and this is what we're supposed to be using on our babies, on our infants. It has PEGs, SLS, something that I cannot pronounce that has a formaldehyde component in it and is potentially carcinogenic. California Babies, Baby Ganix, those are good. Dr. Bonner's is a good brand. This is a brand that you can almost always trust. It's very basic, it works well. They have men's shaving products, they have soaps and shampoos. There's 27 products on EWG that are rated between 1 and 3. So Dr. Bonner's is good. Another example of not being able to just read the label and know if this is good for me or not is this bottle. It has a lot of things on it that I cannot pronounce, but it is rated a 1, and it also lays out all the toxic things that could be in a lotion, such as parabens and propylene glycol, mineral oils, synthetic fragrances, DEA, sulfates. So the Shea Moisture is a brand that has some variety of toxicity levels, but it's one I like their lotion. So think about those things. EOS, I know people love these now, and it's rated a 1, so it's clean.
What is
That's
that?
good for lip balm. Lip balm.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so when it comes to your home,
Am I the only one that didn't know what that was?
as you're brainstorming, when it comes to your home, you're not only thinking about things that go on your body, but you're thinking about things that are going on your surfaces, because you're constantly working on those surfaces, you're sitting on those surfaces, your children are crawling on those surfaces and things of that nature. It's getting in the air. Be very careful with air fresheners. Go with ones that are essential oil based. This is an F. It has developmental delays, endocrine disruption, and reproductive disruption for this Airwick air freshener. Greenworks, doesn't that sound nice? It sounds like it must not be harmful, right? It's an F. So go with 7th generation or Baby Ganix for your dishwashing liquid, not the Greenworks. Clorox is an F. Ammonium chloride, general systemic and organ failure, respiratory problems. Go with Norwex or Green Shield or the Eco Shield. Febreze, everyone loves Febreze, right? Spray it all over your house. It gets an F, so be careful with that. Pine Sol sounds harmless. It's been around forever. It gets a D. So these, I forgot to mention, these are A through F, and the skin is 1 through 10, according to EWG. So EWG Skin Deep in EWG.org. So this, you'll see a lot on EWG about acute aquatic toxicity, and what that means is when you come in contact with this in combination with water, that it's very quickly toxic. Well, don't your cleaning products normally go in water? So don't be using that. One that's really easy to sub out, and everyone should star this one on their sheet to go home tonight. Make sure they're using a good laundry detergent, because you wear your clothes and you put this all over your clothes. Tide gets an F for sodium borate, for something I can't pronounce that causes systemic organ failure. Go with a E-Cover, a Green Shield, a 7th generation, something from Norwex, or you can make your own if you're really price conscious. It lasts forever if you make your own. And then last but not least, soft scrub, D. It increases asthma, respiratory problems, carcinogenic. Whole Foods actually has a brand that's good for all-purpose cleaners and whatnot that is a 1 or that gets an A. So you can pick that up if you're there getting things. Dr. Bonner's Green Shield. So does that help? Help get your juices going to know what you need to fill your trash bag with. Okay.
All right. So show of hands, how many of you, on let's say a monthly basis, use one of these types of products? Raise your hand. So how many of you were a little bit overwhelmed by that then, to think that I'm going to have to go home and change a whole lot, right? But let me point something out. Some of you, you need to go home and fill up the trash bag and just be done with it. Get that stuff out of your life. Some of you, you start a little bit slower and you make gradual changes over time. You got to identify how you hit your goals and how you make decisions. Some of you, if you go and throw everything in the garbage bag, you're so overwhelmed you're going to go right back out and buy bad stuff again. It just is what it is. You have to know you, right? But here's the thing. Look at There's a common theme amongst all this stuff. You see like fluoride in the toothpaste, and you see antibacterial in the hand soaps, and you see what's some other ones, like aluminum, but there's also like Clorox bleach to kill all the germs, 99.9% of the germs actually. And this one, there was the air freshener. Yeah, this one, the air freshener, neutralizes odors and kills the bacteria. If you look at the common denominator between all of that, it's a bunch of fear, right? So why you have to have fluoride in your water and in your toothpaste, or else you're going to get what? Cavities, right? Or you need to kill all the bacteria and all the germs because the germs cause disease. You need to kill all these things in the air. Do you know that our indoor air is 100 times more toxic than our outside air because of what we're doing with this stuff? And we're all filled up with this fear, and you see there seems like a new virus coming out almost every single week. There's Ebola or Zika or rotavirus, or there's, SARS or whatever it is, and we try to, it's fear, right? And so everyone's filled up with fear, and they're just doing that just to get you to make decisions and purchases, right? You can do the same stuff with stuff that you can make at home. And you don't have to be filled up with fear when it comes to cavities, right? You're not going to get cavities just because you're not doing fluoride, right? I haven't done fluoride in 10 years. No cavities. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a big part of it. So, Teflon cookware. So I've been talking about Teflon cookware for the last 10 years. It's still on the market. It's insane. They've planned to pull Teflon cookware off the market for the last 10 years. So they found out that it caused cancer. They found out that it contributes to abnormal cell aging. And here's how they found it out. They did what's called a canary study. So what they did is they cooked on Teflon cookware, and they funneled the fumes directly into a bird cage, these canaries. And in the bird cage, what happens, one by one, they would all collapse. And they found out something's wrong with Teflon cookware. And so they studied it, and they found out these PFOAs in Teflon cookware causes childhood development problems, liver and pancreatic problems, damages the thyroid gland because the thyroid is the most sensitive to toxicity out of all the glands in the body. And they saw that this was right here, this PFOA, the ingredient in Teflon cookware, the nonstick cookware, and they found out how toxic it was. And so what they did is they said, okay, you caught us, we'll ban it in 2010. And they push it back to 2011. They push it back to 2012, 13, 14. They keep pushing it back, and that's why Teflon's on sale. When you go to the grocery store, it's on sale. They're trying to get rid of this stuff, but they're trying to clear inventory, right? But the problem is that because of lobbying and because of their greed and profits, they keep pushing it back. We know it causes health problems, yet we keep pushing this back. And think about it. You're cooking on this stuff. So what's getting into the food is coming from the Teflon cookware. And so what's a better alternative? Who knows a better alternative to Teflon? Stainless steel. You guys almost all said stainless steel is a really good one. Who knows another one? Cast iron is also a really good one. Yeah, we have stainless steel in our home. Say it again.
Ceramic with the thermal
I haven't studied that one, so I can't definitively say. Ceramic.
It doesn't have the PFOA.
Yeah. Ceramic in general is better. Just make sure it's not coated with anything that's toxic. Frankenfood. Okay, so right now in this country we have the most genetically modification of our food, right? And so come on, is genetic modification of food really that bad? Is it really? Come on, is it really that bad? What's the harm? I mean, we're just making it a little bit bigger, right? Our bananas used to be this big, now they're this big, right? You know, our ginger used to be this big, now it's this big. Come on, is it really that big of a deal? And so I've got a message straight from the most pro-GMO company on the face of the planet, and they just want you to know that everything's okay, that GMOs aren't that bad for you, and they just have I know it's a little bit late, but they just want to wish you all a happy Easter. So this is Monsanto. They just want to wish you a happy Easter, and there's their genetic modification of an Easter bunny right there. It's a problem. We know it's a problem. Right now, what's the argument? We want to feed the world, right? And so we need to produce all these crops and all these things, and we need to do it quickly, and we need to make it bigger so we can get more yield out of our crops. So that's the argument because of people in other countries. But the problem is that we genetically modify our foods, and it changes the chemical composition of our food, and it's now Frankenfood. Our bodies do not recognize these nutrients. Our body doesn't recognize it when, again, a banana is supposed to be this big and it's this big, right? There are certain chemicals that cause that to grow faster, and now you're putting this into your body. And we wonder why men, their testosterone shoots way up when they consume a lot of these genetic modification of foods. Why? Because if it's causing the food to grow quicker, what else is it causing? Our hormones to work quicker. It's causing it's our endocrine disruptors. We know that. And so you have to make sure, if you're being exposed right now, if you're not paying attention to what's genetically modified or what's organic or not organic, tonight moving forward, you've got to know what you're putting into your body. And so if you're health conscious, I understand that a lot of people go to the grocery store, and this is one of the reasons why we do shop with a doc and whatnot, is because you go to the grocery store and you're overwhelmed. And I definitely understand that at first, but as you commit to learning this and commit to getting better at this and just committing to never giving up, you're going to figure it out. And it's not going to take that long at grocery stores. But there are certain things that, if you're on a budget and you say, I can't consume everything organic right now, there are certain things that are absolutes. You have to consume organic, and there's other things that you can get away with choosing conventional. And hear me right when I say get away with. That does not mean you go out and you just make a decision. If you can afford to go all organic, do it. It's going to be better for you. But if you have to, because of budgeting, you can choose some of these conventional. And let me go through the ones that you can consume conventionally. Avocados, sweet corn. Now, what's the caveat? 90% of our corn, 97% of our corn, 92% of our soy, and 93% of our sweet beets, sugar beets are genetically modified. So if you're going to do corn, it's got to be what? Non-GMO, right? It's got to be non-GMO. So even if you're doing non-organic corn, it still has to be did I say that right? Yeah, non-GMO. Pineapples, cabbage, sweet peas, onions, asparagus, mangoes, papayas, kiwi, eggplant, grapefruit, cantaloupe, sweet potatoes. You can get away with those doing conventional. Now, if you just kind of think about this list, most of them have a thicker skin on the outside, right? The ones that you have to buy organic are not like that, most of them. Some of them just have a really thin skin or that's permeable where the pesticides and herbicides can actually make their way through. So things like apples, peaches, nectarines, strawberries, grapes, celery, spinach, sweet bell peppers, cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, snap peas, potatoes, hot peppers, kale, and collard greens. Those are things that you have to buy organic if you're buying these at all. So here's the thing, is that it's hard to memorize this list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this for you on the Facebook page. You can get on there. You can just take it straight from there. So you have this list. But think logically when you're buying some of this stuff. And if you think about it logically, it actually makes sense. And so what's the problem with pesticides? What's the problem with herbicides? Well, here's the thing. If this is how the guy has to dress in order to spray your food, do you really want to be eating this stuff? Come on, we know what it does to our bodies now. It's been studied. Pesticides and herbicides have been very well studied. We know it contributes to health problems. We know it causes bioaccumulation. And when they studied infant cord blood, so infant cord blood, they looked at the different toxicity levels of infant cord blood. So think about this. This is a baby that's been inside the mom, yes? They found 256 different chemicals inside the cord blood. The baby was already being exposed by who? By mom. What mom ate accumulated. And the problem with pesticides and herbicides is you can't wash these things off. They're fat soluble. So what does that mean? You can't wash them off or just scrub them off. You have to buy organic, right? Now here's the thing is that if it's hard to just wash that off, what is that doing in your cells? It's contributing to the hard and thick layer around each individual cell. And it's getting into the infant cord blood. So think about this. It's 256 chemicals right in the infant cord blood. So from day one, the infant's already toxic. So the baby's already toxic. And now we start doing this. Let's do Johnson & Johnson's baby head to toe wash. So we lather this up on our skin, and we know that with the film, it's a PEG. It's a number 4 with SLS, known cancer causer. So we start lathering this up on their skin, and then they get their first fever. So they get their first fever. What are we taught to do with the fever? Reduce the fever. Tylenol. Tylenol decreases their body's glutathione, which is a natural antioxidant, destroys DNA. And now they get their first runny nose, or they start, they start having congestion. We give them an anti-congestion, or we give them cough drops, right? What are we doing? We're interfering with the body's innate ability to heal. That's what we're doing. And if we do this through a lifetime, no wonder we have so much sickness. No wonder we have so much disease. It starts from birth, and when we cause the problems for the rest of their lives. By the way, is the fever a bad thing? No. That was the body's, is trying to heat it up, trying to get rid of the fever, trying to get rid of the bacteria. I understand that it can be, you're the mom or you're the dad even, and the fever goes up to 99, 100, 101, 102, you start to panic, right? So what do? We try to reduce the fever. Why do we do that? Why do we get so fear-filled with that? Is because why? Why do most people get... Because, well, we've been lied to. Thank you. Everyone say on the count of 3, you've been lied to. 1, 2, 3. You've been lied to. You've been lied to, but we thought it caused brain damage, right? Do you realize that the only time you ever see brain damage in a small child who has a fever is when we try to reduce the fever? Give them Tylenol. Guess what the body does? Fight back. So it fights back. Guess what happens when it fights back? Heats it up higher. So it heats it up higher, then causes brain damage. The body will never do the wrong thing at the wrong time. It will never hurt you. Right? We cause the problems. We remove the interference. Your body does the healing. That's the way it's supposed to work. You know, we have a saying in our office, God needs no help, just no what? Interference. Your body needs no help, just no interference. But we interfere with the food that we're eating. We talk about animal products. Animal products are non-negotiable in our house. What does that mean? Is that we never cheat on grass-fed versus grain-fed beef, ever. Why? Because an animal, a cow specifically that's been fed a corn-fed diet, a grain-fed diet, it causes a molecular change within their body, and it creates inflammation inside of their body. You've heard the term, you are what you eat? Yeah, it's not true. You are what your food ate, right? So they're eating grains, they're eating corns. Do you think the corn-fed diet for, let's say this, for purposes of saving money, the farmers use, do you think they're doing non-GMO corn when they're feeding this to the cows? Right. And we know it contributes to inflammation. We know it causes disease. In fact, you've heard that, that meat consumption leads to heart disease and cancer. You've heard that before? It's not true with grass-fed beef. It is true with grain-fed beef. In fact, when you look at the average person fat ratio inside of their body, just a brief summary of this, it should be a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-3s to omega-6s. The problem is that we feed on and we eat grain-fed beefs, and what that causes is a ratio of 20-to-1 within our bodies. And what does that mean? The only thing you have to take from that is that ratio right there is the exact same ratio in people who develop heart disease. And so you've got to make sure when you're consuming meats that it has to be grass-fed and grass what? Finished, right? Grass-fed and grass-finished. How many of you know they could feed the cow grass-fed or grass the whole life, and then the last 20% feed it grains and corn and call it grass-fed because it was. That's legal, by the way. So it's got to be grass-fed and then grass what? It's got to be grass-finished.
If it says 100% grass-fed?
100% grass-fed is another term. Yeah, that's okay. Yep. It's okay. But what I do is I know where I'm getting my meats, right? I know where I'm getting my meats from. I know the farm. I know where it's coming from. We do a cow share, a herd share, so we know where it's coming from, right? And so if you, again, we spend like $4 a pound on our meats because we get it direct from the cow, or from the cow. Yep, get it direct from the farmer. Yeah. Antibiotics, hormones, added hormones. So you get all the cows together, you get all the animals together, and you have to feed them antibiotics because if there's so many cows, there's so many animals all together, and one of them dies in the middle or gets sick in the middle, then what do we have to do? We give them all antibiotics to prevent the spread of illness, right? That's what they do. That's the reasoning. That's their reasoning behind this, is the whole antibiotics. But again, you aren't what you eat, you are what your food ate. So if they're being exposed to antibiotics, that's going to ruin two things that it will ruin. One is their immune system. The other is the tenderness of the meat. And the other thing that it affects their composition of fats ratio inside of their body. It's the same thing as us. When we take in antibiotics, it destroys our gut, right? And when we destroy our gut, we become inflamed. Are you with me with this? So you become inflamed. What happens to the meat when it becomes inflamed? Well, the fat ratio changes. So that's why you don't take antibiotics, is that reason right there. Same reason why your food shouldn't either. Hormones, we try to get them bigger, faster. So we pump them full of what's the hormone? What's the hormone? It just left me. HGH, thank you. So we give them HGH, or we give them some type of steroid, so it's going to grow them faster, quicker, yet it's going to contribute to disease. So animal products are a non-negotiable. Tonight, no more grain-fed beefs. They prefer grass, by the way. You put them out in the pasture, what do they eat? They eat the grass. You put them in a cornfield, they eat the grass off of the corn, right, or around the corn, and they eat the stalk off of the corn. So they actually don't prefer grass and grain. So it needs to be organic. Ideally, if you can get local and know the source, that's going to be your best option. So I don't do a ton of meats. We don't do a ton of meats in our house. First thing in the morning for us, we do whey protein every single morning. That's how we start our day off. Most people, what do they start their morning off with breakfast? You guys all said coffee. I think we've got a problem. Yeah. Cereals, grains, Nutri-Grain bar. You say smoothie. Well, yeah, not most people. Pancakes. I'm hearing a lot of grains is the point. So here's the thing. You come off of fasting. Then what do? You start your day off with grains. And what do grains turn to? Sugars. Grains turn to sugar. And so now the first thing that we're doing inside of, the first thing in the morning, what we're doing is we're putting grains inside of our body, turns to sugar, and then we live off sugar the rest of the day. Then at snack, and then at lunch, and then we're having sugar at virtually every single meal, right? And the problem with that is that now here's your sugar levels inside of the body. They spike up, they stay spiked. What also rises is insulin. So your insulin levels raise up too, and you've heard of diabetes, right? So they say it's an insulin resistance. It's not an insulin problem, it's a sugar problem. So your sugar levels went up, your insulin levels go up, they stay elevated, and it's not just diabetes that you have to worry about. It's also most disease processes thrive in an environment where insulin is high. So most of us right now in this room, let's say most of us in society, not this room, you guys are perfect, but most of the people in society are pure sugar burners, right? Most people are pure sugar burners. Their sugars are elevated all day, and they stay elevated all day long. And so they're entirely sugar burners. So if you're living off sugar all day long, what are you not accessing? Fat. You're not getting fat storage. You're not accessing the fat storage. So you're certainly not going to be losing weight. So the problem with this is that we start our day off wrong in the morning. We have to start our day off in the morning with a high protein or a high fat meal. It is essential, right? So in our house, we do like a protein shake. And we do almond milk, we put a scoop of protein powder in there. I put a big giant scoop of coconut oil straight in there. And the reason why that is because you need good healthy fats inside of your body. And so I start my day off with coconut oil straight into the shake there. I put some frozen berries in there. Berries are the only thing. Most fruit will cause a spike in what? Sugar. Berries aren't like that. Berries are not like that. And yes, you said fructose. Yeah, that's the other problem with most fruit. Now here's the problem, here's the thing, are all fruits bad for you besides berries? The answer to that is no, but for a season you want to make sure you cleanse your body, balance your sugar levels, and get this stuff out of your system. How many of you think that you probably have had a sugar problem at some point in your life? Raise your hand if you had a blood sugar problem at some point in your life. Yeah, so Just going a season without sugars, even from fruit, don't you think that might be a good idea, right? So starting your day off with a protein shake in the morning is going to be a way to boost your metabolism, start your body detoxing right from the get-go. Whey protein, as long as there's certain ingredients in the whey protein, got to be grass-fed beef. Anytime you do a whey protein, it's got to be from a grass-fed source. There cannot be any sugars, there cannot be any additives inside of a whey protein. So what you're looking for when you're looking for a protein is it needs to be grass-fed, no additives, no sugars. If it's sweetened, it needs to be sweetened with like something like stevia. That's a good sweetener. So we're talking animal products, and I always get the question about fish. So, you know, the problem with fish is the toxicity levels, right? I think everyone is, what's the known toxin in fish? Many fish is known for what? Mercury, right? Here's another problem with fish is the genetic modification of our salmon right now. How many of you have heard about this problem? So we're genetically modifying salmon. Here's how we're doing it. We're making the salmon bigger faster. And what we're also doing is we're doing farm-raised salmon. How many of you heard that term? Yep. Farm-raised salmon. So here's the problem with farm-raised salmon is that they feed the salmon, and what they feed it is they feed it conventionally farmed salmon are fed with a diet contaminated with fish meal and oil. And so here it is in a pond. Salmon is not meant to live in a pond, right? What do you think of when you think of salmon? Swimming where? Swimming upstream, right? And so now instead of swimming upstream, we grow it now in a pond. Now what we have to do is we have to make it bigger, because if it's not swimming upstream, it's not using its muscles. So we have to make it bigger. So what do? We genetically modify it, and we start having offspring that are bigger, right? And now because it's not swimming upstream, it's not using its muscles, they're not out in the wilderness getting oxygenation, they're not swimming in fresh water. When it comes to the packaging of the salmon, it's also now a very pale color. So now what do? We have to inject food dyes into the salmon just to make it look orange. And so by the time it gets to you, it looks the exact same as a fish that's been, or salmon that's been swimming out in the environment, right? It looks the exact same as a wild caught fish. And so how do you tell the difference? You cannot tell the difference. And that's the problem, is that you look at it and you say, I can't tell the difference. And you have to know the source, right? You have to know the source, because we know health problems exist from genetic modification of salmon. We know lice grow in those ponds that the salmon are coming from the farm-raised salmon. Lice grow in their ponds, right? So you need to know your source when it comes to your fish. You need to know your source. We don't do a ton of fish in our house. It's sparingly. It's probably once every couple of weeks, maybe once a month, right? So you can see where this is going. There's so many problems with our manufacturing of food nowadays, and our soil is now depleted, because what used to take the nutrients from 3 apples now takes they said 27 different apples to equal the nutrients of 3 apples 30 years ago. So what did I just say? That it takes 27 apples to equal what 3 apples were 27 years ago. What does that mean? It means that our soil is depleted from its nutrients. It's harder to get the nutrients from food now. And with so many problems with our food system being changed and being contaminated, you have to make sure you're getting your nutrients from something. So, I mean, me in the morning, my family, I have my wife doing a women's multi. I know there's no way she's getting all the nutrients from food. As hard as we work with our food consumption, and as careful as we are, I know there's no way we're getting everything from foods. It's not possible anymore. I used to lie to myself and say I get all my, I get all my nutrients from foods, right? And I eat all organic, I eat all this healthy stuff. Wrong. When we did toxicity level testing and testing on nutrient absorption for a select number of patients, we saw even those who are doing great, they're still extremely deficient in nutrients. So that's why I take like a men's multi. I recommend I recommend women doing like a women's multi every morning. Now, it cannot be toxic. When you're looking for a women's multi or men's multi, it needs to be from a whole food source. Centrum. So as an example, you've heard of like Centrum with the silver lining. So do you realize that we've taken x-rays on people and we saw the Centrum not being absorbed in the gut? So you can see, actually you can see the Centrum pill still sitting in the gut, in the large intestine. It means it's about to be exited without ever being absorbed, right? And so you need to get your nutrients from food if possible, or as close to food if possible. So when you're talking about doing a multi, it needs to be from a whole food source. Heavy metals. We're getting into heavy metal toxicity. And here's the problem with heavy metals, is that this is the one toxin that are, many of which are known to cross the blood-brain barrier. So things like aluminum and things like mercury, they cross the blood-brain barrier. So what does that mean? There's a barrier between your spinal cord and brain. And it's supposed to separate, this little barrier is supposed to separate all the bad stuff. But the problem is that heavy metals cross that blood-brain barrier, which means it gets up into the brain, and which causes neurotoxicity problems. You've heard of Alzheimer's or developmental delays or degenerative diseases in the brain. Well, a lot of them have started because of the heavy metal accumulation. And I want to show you, I have a picture of, it's a dendrite. So this is an extension of the nervous system. I want to show you what happens to the nervous system when it's exposed to a heavy metal. So what you're about to see is you're about to see a live picture. It's a dendrite that we're going to introduce mercury to the dendrite. And I want to show you what happens to that little nerve system supply. So picture your brain right now being exposed to mercury, or picture your brain being exposed to aluminum right now. So you can see right now, this is in a petri dish, meaning the nerve right now is sitting in a little dish, and it's growing, it's multiplying, it's expanding. It's constantly doing that inside of you, by the way. It's constantly growing, it's trying to make new synapses, it's trying to reach out, it's consistently trying to heal your body. It's what it's supposed to do. That's the communication inside of you. But I want to watch. You're about to introduce mercury right into the petri dish. And I want you to watch what happens to this little dendrite when it's introduced. Here it comes. Those of you that said, oh wow, what are you saying? What are you saying? It shrinks away. It goes away from it. Heavy metals cross the blood-brain barrier. So it crosses the blood-brain barrier, gets in the brain, and look what's happening to the brain. Look what's happening to the brain when that's happened. So you need to know the heavy metals that are in your products. Like baby formula, she mentioned a few of the baby formulas that had aluminum in it. I mean, that is insane to me to expose. I have a 4-year-old son. He's not a baby anymore, but I just can't even imagine at 4 years old exposing him to aluminum. Baked goods, aluminum foil. We don't bake with aluminum foil. We may cover it at the end and try not to let it touch the food. Yeah, we cover it. So
if it's in the refrigerator?
Yeah, in the refrigerator. So the problem is with the aluminum foil is you cover it and then you heat it, and it's a lot of times touching your foods. Even if it's not touching your food, if you're cooking with it, that leaches into the food. So the only time we ever use aluminum foil is we take it out of the oven and we put aluminum foil on the top just to trap the heat, but it doesn't touch our food. So deodorants, guys, listen, there's aluminum in your deodorants. Women, there are aluminum in your deodorants. And Leah mentioned when it goes in your skin, especially these pores that are nice and open, it goes right into the skin and gets in the lymphatic nodes. You have tons of lymph nodes, especially on the left side of your body, that sit right there. Lots of prescription antacids and over-the-counter drugs have aluminum in it. You're putting those inside of your body. Vaccinations, one of the preservatives in all vaccinations is aluminum. And then you're cooking with aluminum pots and pans. You can see, how are we getting such problems with Alzheimer's and developmental problems? It's because of this right here. Mercury. You saw what happened to that brain cell when it was exposed to mercury, but where are you getting mercury? From your amalgam fillings. So they used to fill cavities with mercury, right? And so many of us in the room, and me included, had cavities that were filled up with amalgam fillings, which is mercury. So you get this mouthful of metal, and then every time you chew, every time you eat, every time you have saliva, it leaches. And where is it going? Straight into the brain. Straight into the brain. Fish. It's not all fish that's a mercury problem. Mostly farmed and larger fish. That's really where the problem is with mercury. So farm fish and larger fish, because of the bioaccumulation, larger fish become problems. And then vaccinations again. In your flu shot is thimerosal, which is a mercury preservative. Here's the thing about that. We've harped on that a couple times now. Here's the thing, is that we have such fear of disease, and so that's the reason why we do these things. The problem is that you don't have to fear disease. You don't have to fear disease. In fact, 5 consecutive flu shots for a person increases his chance of Alzheimer's by 10 times. 5 consecutive flu shots increases your chance of Alzheimer's by 10 times. And so we fear the flu, and we fear what the effects of the flu. And when you actually look at the studies, The flu shot did not decrease your risk of getting the flu. A review of 48 studies, they studied 48 different studies, and they looked at 66,000 different adults. That's a big sample size, right? They found that the flu shot did not prevent the flu or decrease the number of hospitalizations from the flu. We don't need to fear the flu, just like we don't need to fear chickenpox, right? We don't need to fear these things. And it's not sick. So you have a cold, you have a runny nose. That's not sickness. That's your body trying to expel something, right? So you get exposed to something. You get exposed to bacteria. What happens is the epithelial cells inside of your nose, it thickens and it becomes more permeable. So what happens? A draining nose, or you start getting congestion because of the epithelial cells grow and they expand. And so we start getting congestion, and what do? Anti-congestion, right? And so we take an anti-congestion, or we take something to suppress the fever, and so we're going against what the immune system is trying to do. The immune system was trying to heal. Those were just symptoms of your immune system trying to heal. And your immune system requires you have one essential vitamin. Your immune system requires this one essential vitamin. It's vitamin D. How many of you know that your immune system is activated by vitamin D? It's awesome. Think about the design of the human body. We go out in the sun, we get exposed to the sun, and our body, inside of our liver, makes vitamin D. And our body makes this vitamin D to protect you, to increase your immune system so you're not sick, so you stay well. So your body, it's a perfect design. It's constantly trying to strengthen your immune system. That's why those of you that are in like a desk job, or you're in here all the time, right? So it's important to go out and get sunlight, right? But here's the problem. To get enough vitamin D, you have to have 90% of your body exposed for at least 30 minutes a day, right? Some of you are like, I don't want to have 90% of my body exposed. Yeah, so that's the problem. It's hard to get the vitamin D with our culture, right? It's really hard. I practiced in Naples, Florida, and I thought for sure, because I'm an Indiana boy, right? And so I thought all these people are out in the sun, and they have no vitamin D problems, right, is what I thought. We did testing on those people, and they all had vitamin D problems, every single one of them. Well, what do we do when we go out? Sunblock. So blocking out the sun is one of the problems. The other problem is absorption. So we found that those that were taking probiotics, they had fine vitamin D levels. They were going outside, they were getting the sun, they were absorbing the vitamin D, that somehow their vitamin D levels were up. So what we found is that it's the absorption that's a problem. It's our gut that's a problem. So you can be exposed to all the vitamin D outside and all the sun in the world, but if your body isn't building up the vitamin D inside of your body because you have a leaky gut, or you have inflammatory gut, or you have a probiotic deficiency, you're spinning your wheels with that. So that's why when you take a vitamin D, it needs to have a probiotic in it. That's the reasoning behind that. There's tons of research. In fact, your doctors now, they're telling you to take what? They're telling you to take vitamin D. And here's what they're telling you to take. Vitamin D what? 2. Vitamin D2. It's vitamin D3 that you've got to be taking. Vitamin D2 is a much cheaper. It's a synthetic version. You can make it in a chemistry lab. It's very, very easily made. The problem is you're not going to get any of the health effects from. Now your numbers will go up on your blood tests, right? But is that health? I had a guy come in. He was 62 years old. He's on 27 different medications, and I was really confident going into this room because here I am walking into the room. I think a guy really wants my help. I walk into the room and I ask him, "Why do you want to be healthy?" And he looks at me. He says, "I'm already healthy." He said, "My numbers are good. I go to my annual doctor's visit every single year, and he takes my blood work, and I'm on a cholesterol drug for my cholesterol. I'm on a blood pressure for my blood pressure. I'm taking this for that. I'm taking that for this." And he lists all of these drugs, and he said, "My numbers are good. They always give me a clean bill of what? A health," right? And here he is. He's judging his health entirely based off his numbers on blood work. That's where we get vitamin D2, is because we're trying to manipulate blood work in order to change health. That's not how health is. That is not what health is. You're not healthy because your blood work looks good. How many of you know somebody whose blood work looks great? They had blood pressure was controlled, cholesterol was controlled, and they die of a massive heart attack. There's more people right now dying of heart disease who have controlled cholesterol and controlled blood pressure. It is not a blood pressure and cholesterol problem. It's an inability to heal problem. Again, but we do all this out of fear. It is not. You cannot do things. When it comes to your health, you cannot make decisions based off of fear. You can't do it. You can't do it. So I'm going to go through a couple questions, and we're wrapping up here in just a few minutes. I want you to listen. I want you to just answer these questions silently to yourself. And I want you just to answer yes or no on these. You don't have to do a toxicity test to determine if you're toxic or not. We're going to answer 10 questions, and you're going to determine if you're toxic or not. Do you eat non-organic meat or dairy? Do you consume boxed food? Do you store food in plastic containers? Do you use popular cleaning products in your home or dishwasher? Things. Do you use store-bought personal care products? Do you use Teflon or non-stick cookware? Do you drink city water? Dear God, I hope you guys are not drinking city water. Have you ever been exposed to heavy metals, aluminum, mercury in flu shots, or mercury in amalgam fillings? I would add in there aluminum from deodorants and what you're covering your food with. So it's not did you answer yes to all of them, did you answer yes along the way? Because if you did, you're toxic. And if you changed your life, even a long time ago, were you once answering yes to some of these questions? Because if you were not intentional about detoxing, intentional about getting this stuff out of your life, you're toxic, right? When's the first toxic exposure? In the womb, right? 256. We had to develop a detox for kids because kids are so toxic. My son, again, he's not had hardly any sugar his whole life. He's not been exposed to hardly anything. We've been so careful about this. Guess what? We give him a detox because you can't control everything. You can't. You can't control everything. So the Maximized Living developed a detox for kids for this very reason, because they're sicker earlier on in life. So here's the solution. If you answered yes to any of those questions, first of all, garbage bag. Get rid of the stuff, right? Get rid of the source. Get rid of what's causing it. Take your garbage bag home, and if you're the type of person who's like me, who you need to draw a line in the sand and just cross it and never look back, throw the stuff away. Don't give it to people. Throw it in the garbage can. Tomorrow's trash day for all of us, right? I don't care where you live. Tomorrow's trash day. Get it out of your house and put it in the trash can and never go back. Draw a line in the sand and never go back. Second thing, cleanse the body. Get rid of that stuff and then make sure your body is detoxing the way it's supposed to. And so what do I mean by that? There's certain ways that you can detox. And here's the problem, is that there's so many different detoxes out there. And I'll tell you, I'll just be very straightforward with you. You're wasting a lot of money. If you're going out there and you're purchasing like the detox kits that are out there that say, you know, this is going to make you fully detoxed in the next 7 days or even 30 days or whatever it is. Especially, I'm seeing more and more of this out there, really cheap detoxes, right? And here's what happened is they studied studied a lot of these products, and they found that what they're saying about the product was not actually true about what it was doing. You can do toxicity tests on people before and after a detox and see if they actually detoxed, right? So just to be clear, you want to trust the brand that if you're doing a detox, you also want to eat well when you're detoxing, right? I recommend doing the advanced plan as you're doing it. So you cleanse the body. You start getting good, healthy nutrients in the body. You start eating closer to your natural state, and then you have to bind the toxins and get rid of them. And there's a way to do it. One of the ways that you can boost your natural detoxification levels in your body is getting a lot of glutathione. Who's heard of this before? It's an antioxidant. An antioxidant is a known cancer fighter, right? We all have this glutathione inside of our bodies. And here's the cool thing, is that it's an antioxidant that seeks out and surrounds and destroys cancer cells. So any abnormal cell growths, we saw healthy cell and unhealthy cell. This right here, glutathione, the antioxidant, it finds those abnormal cells and chews them up and gets rid of them. That's a composition. That's something inside of all of us that's happening right now. As long as your body is functioning and healing at 100%, you've got this. But the problem happens is from stress and from drugs and pollution and from our diet and injury and aging and infection, all these things, we get less and less glutathione in your body. I remember I talked about Tylenol. The real reason why Tylenol is so bad for you is because it depletes glutathione. And glutathione is the one thing in your body that's preventing you to have cancer. Right? And so you've got to have glutathione. You get this from like cruciferous vegetables and kale and raw foods. You get glutathione levels up. There's more and more supplements that are just glutathione, right? So they give you glutathione. The problem is that you put it in your body, and then what happens in your stomach is the stomach acid just destroys it. It destroys it. So you have to have glutathione precursors, and actually to increase your glutathione levels inside of your body, got to have glutathione precursors. That's the key. You get it from food as much as you possibly can, but if you're really trying to detox, you want glutathione precursors. And so there's liver, gallbladder, kidneys, your skin, they're all organs of detoxification. So one of the things that I do seasonally is I do like a body detox and then a cell detox. The cell detox, glutathione precursors, increases the glutathione markers inside of the body, increases antioxidants, and then the body detox helps to bind the toxins and get rid of them through the colon, right? So the problem with a lot of detoxes is that you get the cells detoxed, and then what happens? Nothing binds them, and so you retox. You detox just to turn around and retox. So you got to have something to bind the toxins and get rid of them. That's what the purpose of the body detox. It's 2-in-1, so it does it together. Help with the liver, gallbladder, kidneys to get them detoxed, right? And on this challenge that I'm going to introduce to you, all of you have this. Can I borrow it? Mm-hmm. You have this 21-day spring reset. I want to say this. Don't commit to doing this unless you're fully committed, because, again, draw a line in the sand and cross it, and when you're ready to do that, that's when you jump into this, because this is not an easy detox. It is not easy to do that. But you'll see on there that there's a lot of lemon water. And here's the reason why lemon water. How many of you have heard of the benefits of lemon? Okay, so it's a cleansing. So lemon water, some of the major benefits is it boosts your immune system. It balances your pH inside of your body, your alkalinity versus acidity. You want your body to be more alkaline. So lemon water helps with that. Decreases wrinkles and blemishes. Okay, I have to say that. Leah, you heard Leah up here, so I guess that's a good thing. Relieves tooth pain, relieves respiratory infections, excellent for weight loss, reduces fever, and blood purifier. So lemons, it's like God's natural detoxifier. So put this in your lemon. Now you don't just squeeze it and then leave it. You actually need to put the whole thing in there, right? The benefits of lemons are actually in the rind, the white part. And so you actually want to actually consume it and eat it afterwards. That's the best way to do it. Most people think you squeeze it and get rid of it. You're not detoxing if you're doing that. So you actually want to consume the lemon afterwards. And so there is a difference between just dieting and adding lemon water and stuff like that, and then actually cleansing. Dieting will work. It's just going to take a whole lot longer. It's going to be a slow process. Cleansing, you do it fast. You get rid of it as quickly as possible, and that way you're not retoxing quickly, right? So you get rid of it as quickly as possible. You implement this 21-day reset that I have laid out here for you, and you never retox. Okay, so this is a spring cleanse, right? It's a spring cleaning, right? Because how many of you right now, how many of you know if you had to raise your hand, and I want you to actually do this, how many of you believe you're toxic right now? Raise your hand if you believe that you're probably toxic. Right, so what's your plan then? And I want to ask this seriously. What's the plan? It's obviously not to continue living toxic, so you're obviously going to get rid of some of this stuff, but is your plan to just get rid of a few things, or is your plan to just actually tackle this thing and get a hold of it, right? Because if your plan is to get a hold of it, that's what this is right here. A whole 21-day spring reset. And I know I'm a few minutes over, guys. Just give me a few more minutes. I want to go through this very specifically because there's 3 foundational principles. Everybody have this? Anyone not have this? Okay, make sure you get it in a second. Let me make sure Jared gets one. The foundational principles: no grains, no sugar, no starches. Organic meats, plenty of water. So that you're going to be consuming a lot of water on the 21-day spring reset. If you know you're toxic, if you just raised your hand, this is what you're following for the next 21 days. Commit to yourself. Choose to make a decision to get better and choose to make your life better. And here's how you're going to do it. You're going to follow this to a T, and you're going to flip through this, and you're going to see there's different recipes, there's different plans of action, and it lines up every single day. You have something to do every single day. And so the first phase is that you're going to be doing 3 meals a day with a smoothie or shake in the morning. So you kick your day off with a smoothie. Start it the right way with a healthy fat, healthy protein. Get your blood sugar stable, and you tackle the day. So that's for the first week. The second week, you're doing intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is where you only have an 8 to 10 hour window of eating. So what that looks like is that you'll wake up in the morning, you'll do like water with greens in the morning and a smoothie at 11, and then you're going to be finished eating by 7 o'clock. Does that sound hard? I mean, does that sound too difficult for you guys? Okay. Yeah, so who went through the 30-day challenge with me? Raise your hand. That was harder than this, yeah? But was it worth it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what are some of the, how much weight did you end up, how much?
16.
Do you mind sharing that? Oh, you just did. 16, great. 16 pounds. 16 pounds with that. It's awesome. You lost a bunch of weight too. How much did you lose?
16 too.
So do a 30-day plan. You lose 16 pounds. I didn't know that. So, yep. So you're going to lose weight, yes, but the goal is not just to lose weight. It's to get healthy, detox your body, get things moving in the right direction. The phase 3 is the harder version of this. Phase 3 is this. It's intermittent fasting, but it's a 6 to 8 hour window. So your first meal is at 12 and you end it at 6 to 7. So you're drinking tons of water, you're lots of lemon water, you're doing like max screens, but the phase 3 is the hardest part, and you only have one solid food meal in that last phase, that third week. So one solid meal each day in that last 7 days. Is it hard? Yeah, that last phase is. Is it worth it? It's going to be worth it, right? How many of you think that right now you could do this? Raise your hand if you think that you could do this. Less hands are raised now that thought that they needed to do this. Come on, raise your hand if you think that you could do this. Yeah, I think you can. It's not as hard as you're going to make it. Here's the thing. It all starts with a decision. If you make a decision to live like this for the next 21 days, at the end of the 21 days, do you think it's going to be worth it? Yeah. Do you think you're going to look back and regret? No. You think you're going to look back and be glad that you did it? Yeah. So here's the thing. For the next 21 days, let's focus on our health. This is less than 1 month out of a 12-month calendar that you're zoned in on your health. You're focusing every single meal on making that meal healthy, and you're just doing what's right. Right? And at the end of the day, you're making decisions that are going to change generations from now. They're going to look back on this. They're going to look back and they're going to thank you for making decisions to be healthy for yourself. And I want to say this, is that this is great, but I want to say this, is that if you're not functioning and healing at the best of your ability, you can really throw everything that I talked about out the window. Because think about this, I have the nervous system posted up here. If I cut the nerve that goes into your liver, how well are you going to detoxify? Right? If I cut the nerve that goes to your heart, how healthy are you? Right. And so scale that back. You don't cut it, but you just put pressure on the nervous system. You keep pressure on those nerves that go into your heart. How well is the heart going to function, properly or poorly? Yeah. How well? So if you do the same thing to the liver, how well is the liver going to detoxify, properly or poorly? Right, and so that's why you can throw everything that I said out the window if you neglect your nervous system, because your nervous system is the one thing that controls all healing, all functioning inside of you. It's the one system that tells your body to run. It tells your body to detoxify. It's what runs and governs you. And unfortunately, we neglect this system until we get a symptom. Then we get a symptom. What are we taught to do? Cover up the symptom, right? But the underlying issue is still there, so you're not getting healthier by doing that. You're getting sicker. And so your nervous system controls everything, and the problem is that you interfere with it. You interfere with the nervous system, and the body becomes imbalanced, it becomes stressed. In a stressed body, how well does it detoxify? How well does it function? How well does it heal? When you're stressed out, how healthy are you when you're stressed, right? And so we stress out the body because the neurological interference from the bones that shift out of its normal position, it causes stress, it causes sickness, it causes disease. And then what do we try to do? We try to detox the body into health. It's not how it works. You've got to remove the cause, get to the source, and let your body heal the way it's supposed to, right? And so that's the reason why. Throw everything else that I said out the window. If you're not getting adjusted right now, throw everything that I said out the window, because it's not going to work, right? You may change your blood work a little bit, but again, is that really the definition of health? It's not the definition of health. So that's why spine and nervous system, checking the spine and nervous system on a regular basis to make sure it's running and functioning properly is the foundation. So here we go. So putting it all together, the 21-day spring reset. Who's excited? Say me. Me. Okay. Let's try that again. That was weak. Who's excited? Say me. Me. Okay, so does that mean you're doing it? Say me. Me. Okay, so you're doing it. So you just committed yourself to doing it for the next 21 days, spring reset. So obviously every time we do a talk, our supplements are 15% off. There's a package. If you're doing the reset, you're going to need a couple things: the perfect protein, the max greens, and the detox system. If you're going all in, you need like the max GI to heal leaky gut, or the daily defense because you have chronic inflammation or you have arthritis. There's a discount on that. There's package discounts on both of those two things, but everything is 15% off tonight. Normal cost of the basic core package is $180. We're doing it tonight for $139. That's not for tomorrow. That's just for tonight. Okay, we're not overwhelming the front desk with this. The same thing with the complete package. Normal's $260. It's for $199 tonight. So I'm done here. I went long-winded. I went 20 minutes over, so I apologize for that. But you guys have a good night. Sheree, yes?
I do have a quick question.
Okay. Let me dismiss real fast. So you guys are done. I'm done. Have a good night.